What's going on, family? Welcome back to the From the Bottom FS channel, man. If this is your first time watching, welcome. Today, we got Vivek Ramaswamy, that last name is crazy, talks presidential run on the Breakfast Club. We've been following him for a couple months now, just seeing what he has to say here on the channel. If you haven't already, check out the other channels or the other videos we got of him. I'll link it over here in the corner. But so far, he's literally probably the only candidate that has my ear, man. I think he has America's, best interest at heart. He doesn't really sound too much like a politician. I give him right now, I give him like 50-50. As far as that goes, sometimes he sounds like he's being himself, and sometimes he sounds like he's, giving you that political, that conversation. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this video. Come on.
Well, I got a test. I would like to see if you're willing to pass, because I believe in, just as you believe in civic engagement, I believe in changing the ideas of what political opponents look like, what they should look like, or political candidates. Are you willing to take a test with me quickly? Because I just have a couple of questions for you.
I will, absolutely.
So
and the way this is opening up, I have a feeling I'm about to fail it, but that's good. Let's do it.
That's right, yeah.
Come on.
So just for clarity, I am an independent. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican.
Cool.
I think that's important for the premise of the argument, because I know you did a lot of debating at Harvard. I also want to make it clear that these are the same questions that I asked liberal Democrat Marianne Williamson. So I want to make sure that we put that out there as well, just to kind of set the foundation.
I'm open to being humbled. Let's do this.
Okay, great. Let's go. So you mentioned, the pride of being an American and how important it is to have pride in this country. I'm also a veteran, by the way, for the United States Air Force. So when is it that you voted for the first time?
I voted in 2020.
Okay, so you're how old again?
I'm 37 years old.
So for how many years you sat around and did not get involved at all in any civic engagement? Is that my understanding?
A long time is the answer. And actually, that's what I wrote this book about. I'm not holding myself out as some sort of model. I'm actually offering myself as a self-reflection of my journey as a citizen, to whom this country has given much, right? As an adult, when you have kids, it changes your perspectives. I'm very honest about that. Absolutely.
Okay, no problem. So let's go deeper into the self-reflection. So you've sat around for, and sir, I'm being as respectful as I possibly can. Please don't take anything
and you don't even have to be. And you don't even have to be. So take it off and let's go.
So you've been sitting around in the country that my ancestors built.
Take it off.
As respectful as I possibly can. Please don't take anything
and you don't even have.
She's coming with a different type of energy, though. She's not coming from like a genuine, she's coming with a different type of energy. Like she's trying to, prove a point right now. Not sure, where this is gonna go, but
and sir, I'm being as respectful as I possibly can. Please don't take anything
and you don't even have to be. And you don't even have to be. So take it off and let's go.
So you've been sitting around in the country that my ancestors built for about 20 years. Your parents came over as immigrants, brought you over. You made millions, according to your resume, off of this country, and you have absolutely not been involved in civics. One, not voting, and two, let me just ask, because I know you mentioned earlier you don't want to sit around at the debate and talk about accomplishments. Let's make the accomplishments pretty simple. In high school, were you ever a class president or take any leadership role? Because your opponent did, Chris Christie. He was the class president. So have you ever taken any leadership at all on anything, or just?
Can I just correct a couple factual things that are kind of important?
What does that? That's the whole point, though. What does that matter? So first of all, this is America. If I meet the requirements to run for president one day, I can do that. Just because I didn't run for president in third grade and be class, whatever, valedictorian in college, doesn't mean, one, my voice isn't valid. Two, my experiences can't be told in such a way, or I can't learn from my life experiences where I can turn back and, try to create a infrastructure for the next generation to grow up in that makes it a better living situation for them. That makes no sense. And that's the problem. People think you have to go to Harvard and you have to go to Yale and you have to do this and check this box and check that box. Listen, those days are coming to an end. It's gonna be a day where there's where the president of the United States is a normal Joe, just like you and me. I promise you, I guarantee it. That day is coming, and it has been proven over and over again that the previous politicians who all went to these big name schools, who've been assigned, who've been trying to get this role their entire lives. Oh, I'm a fourth grade, I got this star for attendance, all this nonsense. Those days are going to end. All right, just being honest with you guys. And Trump, whether you like him or not, kind of showed you what it was. He showed you what it was. He showed you, if you speak how you feel and speak what you truly think, you can tap into a whole group of people that feel and think just like you, and you can be president of the United States. All right? So stop it, bro. I'm not sure where she's going with this, but let's get back into it.
Hold on anything or just...
Can I just correct a couple factual things that are kind of important? My parents didn't bring me over to the country. I was born in this country, and I'm proud.
Run it back, man.
Things that are kind of important. My parents didn't bring me over to the country.
Man.
I was born in this country, and I'm proud of that.
No, I know you were born here in Ohio.
Yeah.
Ohio.
You mentioned my parents.
I'm saying your parents were immigrants. My apologies.
That's all right. You said your parents brought you over to this country. I
thought
I would set that record straight.
I mean, they were immigrants.
It's like she's trying to build an image of him where, he kind of grifted off of the backs of black people type situation, where he just kind of came in under the radar and became successful off the hard work of other minorities. When it's like, can you just give his parents credit? His parents put him in a position, education-wise, where they took advantage of it. You know what I mean? And that's it. The fact that we have to view that in a negative lens is ridiculous. Come on.
Apologies.
That's all right. You said your parents brought you over to this country. I
thought
I would set that record straight.
I mean, they were immigrants, but let's not go down the water hole.
No. We're not going to water hole. I just want to correct a couple facts. And then the other thing is,
you were born here in Ohio.
I was born in Cincinnati, Ohio. That's right.
Right. So you've been here your entire life. So the question is, did you take any leadership role in middle school, high school, class president?
I did.
I know you played tennis. What is it? Explain it to us.
Student council. But I think that this is yes, I've held leadership roles over my life, but those don't qualify me to do what I'm doing now.
Yeah, it kind of does. Okay, it kind of does. Well, I'm giving the test. I'm the test administrator.
All right, there you go.
So it kind of does, because when you go from saying I want to go to the highest office,
and I'll tell you, I've led companies as well. Is the other leader?
Right,
the main leadership role I've played is and I want to talk about one early part of your.
And to me, that's more impactful than getting the attendance star in middle school, or leading your middle school class, or leading your high school. To be a grown adult and to be in a position of leadership in a business, all right, where people count on you to make right decisions, for them to be able to work and provide income to put food on their family's table. That's what it's all about. That's what it's, you know what I mean? To me, that's what makes you like a stand-up leader, right? Because within those roles, there are going to be days where you make mistakes, you get embarrassed, but to get back up, to come back up, to wake up the next day, put your shoes back on, put your pants back on, go back to work, head up high, chest out, and continue to be better, continue to evolve, and to continue to improve on your skills. That's what makes you a leader. That's what carves your character. All this other stuff don't mean nothing. You could have taken a back seat in a leadership role your whole life, and then one day you wake up and you get tested, whether it be at your job, whether it be at your college or wherever you are, and you prove yourself. You know what I mean? You prove yourself. You might fail, but you get back up. You prove yourself. So this ain't making no sense. Come on.
That I also want to say, bring it to the country point. The other point, you use the word sitting around.
What is that?
I'm not somebody who's saying I want the next generation, my kids' generation, to have more civic duties when they graduate from high school and college than I did when I did. That being said, I wasn't sitting around. I've developed medicines, 5 of which are FDA-approved products today, one of which is a life-saving therapy in kids, 20 of whom die by the age of 3 if they're not treated, 70% of whom now live lives of a normal duration. another one for prostate cancer. So I don't apologize for making contributions. But
right. Well, I don't want you to filibuster that because
Just
that's not the question that I asked. And I don't consider, as a veteran, I'm talking about service. I'm not talking about what you
Civic
did for
service,
profit. I'm not talking about what you paid people to do with your company. I'm not talking about
I've not served the country.
Man, her energy is off, y'all. Her energy is on. She's mad at this dude right now. She don't like this dude. I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. You guys let me know down in the comment section. But there's no such thing as sitting around building a company and becoming, who you are within your company. That doesn't happen. Usually, 9 times out of 10, if the company's a startup company, like for Elon Musk, man, slept on the floor for how many years? Went into bankruptcy, all kind of crazy financial struggles just to be where he's at today. These people aren't lazy. These people aren't slouches. These people sacrifice 10 times more than what the average person sacrifices on a daily basis, man. So I don't know.
Profit. I'm not talking about what you paid people to do with your company.
I've not served the country
because that means nothing to me. What I'm talking, what I am
been able to ask a question. She's been trying to ask a question, and you've been talking over her.
I'm all ears.
We gave you the platform to let you say
what you said.
I'm all ears. No, I was just correcting a couple facts.
She hasn't had a chance to
that's
ask
all.
a question yet. Every time she tries to ask a question, you've been cutting her off. Good.
I'm all ears.
Envy. Seriously? Bruh, come on, dog. I know you ain't just... Come on. That's your girl. That's your homie. Come on, man. Either you gonna call it down the middle or don't call it at all, man. All right? Let that man check her. She just said, I don't want to be disrespectful. He said, go ahead. But he's allowed to correct her information. You don't have the right to speak about my life if you ain't getting it right. Facts. Come on.
Right. So my question again is, you're trying to, your goal is to raise the standard, and you're saying you want people to believe in country and you want people to have civic engagement. Yeah. And sir, I just find it very telling that you haven't had any civic engagement at all and haven't been at all. And when I say sit around, I don't mean you haven't done anything. I'm talking about in regards to service, because one thing about political office, the same way that you want to change how people look at politics and look at this country, I want to change how people look at politicians. And when I see that someone hasn't did anything at all to be of service to mankind, to take a leadership role. It's not good enough to just be on city student council. Were you a leader? All of that applies. Have you been able to get anybody in the room at any time, from a high school gymnasium to Ohio, Republican leadership there to now? Have you been able to get anybody in a room to believe in this vision? I don't agree with a lot of your vision statement, but I do know you've been going around having these discussions and getting everybody emotionally worked up to talk about vision and debate. But I want to get to the practical. You're trying to go from preschool to president of the United States. You're skipping over city council, county council, mayor, governor. You want to go straight to the top. So my question is this a PR?
Valid,
is this the PR, the perception of reality, or can you point to any leadership where you've been able to get people to believe in what you're talking about that they're not paid to do on any of these vision statements that you have? If not, then to me, it's a moot point, because you're holding a standard that you haven't met yourself.
So everything before that, was all, I think, personal. But her statement right there, that's all fact. That's valid right there. She's just saying like, yo, you want to run for office, but you haven't put in any work in between the lines. Like she just listed out the state governor, senator. You haven't put in any work and to be, I guess, viewed and to even run for a presidential candidacy. That's valid. Let's get back into it.
It's a moot point, because you're holding a standard that you haven't met yourself.
So if
Love to hear the
you're
answer.
only going to count government service, you're absolutely
no, not government
right.
service.
Okay.
Student council in the 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th. Were you a leader? Did you do anything to rally anybody? Did you fight for better lunch? I did in the 6th grade with Miss Harris. I'm not talking about government. I can go all the way back from the 5th grade every year, sir, because people who are in service to this country, if you're going to go around saying you want people to believe in this country that I signed up to die for, then I want to make sure that you're holding that same standard. So not government, not political. Let's not get it confused. I'm saying, have you did anything of service that we can point to say he is a good leader, like Chris? And I'm not even a fan of Chris Christie, but he was the student council president in high school. So have you done anything of service besides yourself that has not benefited yourself? It's just a simple question.
So the acts of service that I have performed are small, so small that I don't even want to talk about them to boast. But yes, have I volunteered for this country? Yes, I have. I've always been interested in healthcare.
It's okay to talk about the small things.
I mean, these are small things, right? But thank you.
Let's just mention
Bethesda North Hospital.
So it's really a no?
No, it's not a no. It's just something I don't like boasting about. I
Well,
volunteered.
we're not boasting. It's an interview.
So
You're boasting on your vision and everything else.
I think
you
one of the
boasted on the millions of dollars that you made. So let's just throw it out. So in sixth grade, I'll give you an example. I'll help you out. In sixth grade, Miss Harris was.
That's valid.
Let me give you an example because maybe you're confused. In the sixth grade, Miss Harris was snatching papers from everybody in the classroom. So me as a 10-year-old, I went to the principal and said, I'm tired of Miss Harris snatching papers, and I organized the students around getting Miss Harris to stop snatching papers. Now there was a consequence for that. I got suspended for 5 days for talking back, and I got in trouble. I got a spanking, and I was on punishment for months and months. But that is a simple way of organizing people. So I want you to kind of boast about it the way you did the millions of dollars and said what you did with the pharmaceutical companies. What leadership can you point to that you've been able to rally anybody around anything that is of service that you did not pay anybody to do? I think that's important for the next president of the United States.
Sure. So I've always been drawn to healthcare. Let
me tell you why that question is valid. She's just saying like, yo, if you want me to follow you, if you want me to back you up as a citizen, if you want my vote, show me an instance in your life where you led successfully, and what was that about? That's pretty much all she's saying. And he hasn't answered. I ain't gonna lie. He hasn't answered it yet. Come on.
For the next president of the United States.
Not gonna lie.
So I've always been drawn to healthcare. That's why I ended up founding companies in that space. When I was in high school, part of what drew me into it was that I was a volunteer at a local hospital. I actually became the leader of that group of volunteers that actually discharged women who had recently given birth. That was it. Nothing big to it.
Did you do anything we can point to stand out?
But I want to say something about that because I say that in the book. If I'm being really honest, why did I do that in high school? A part of the motivation, I'll be just brutally honest with you, was part of the motivation was that's actually what allows you to get into a good college when you graduate. Is you want to check the box of community service.
So it was about you.
So there was about self. So there's and I'm admitting that in a way that very few other people do. But I got to be honest about it. That was a big part of why I did it.
Yeah, it was about self, and I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to give it back to the guys. I'm going to be honest about it with you.
Yep.
Leadership is not about self.
I agree with you on that.
What I just heard is that everything is about you. And to be honest with you, this is just a PR campaign, sir. To be honest with you, and I think you're trying to go further to the right because you want the Republicans to accept you as a man of color. And I think the only way you think you can do that is to be so extreme.
I appreciate your opinion
with your positions, and I think you need to do a little bit more work in service. I'll give it back to you guys. You failed the test, by the way.
Because she did ask me a question, and then you guys said you wanted to hear a response, but I think I heard an expression of opinion. So just I want to make sure you're all done before I respond to it.
No, just wanted to say that even then I would still want you to point out, even at the hospital, something that you did that made you stand out on when actually taking a leadership role. But you already answered it. You said you did it because it was a motivation to get in college.
Exactly.
Which means it was about you.
And I'm being very honest about that. But
everything has been about you. So as a veteran,
let me tell you something. I appreciate
it's very hard for me to follow leaders that make everything about them. So you might want to work on that because it's a lot of veterans and Republicans. So you might want to work on that talking point and maybe do some volunteering while you're on the campaign trail. I'm going to give it back to Charlamagne and Envy.
Yeah, I want to be respectful. Want to make sure you got everything you wanted to on the table before I respond.
If this was just us, it would be a lot more.
You guys tell me. I'm the guest on your show. You tell me when I'm good to speak.
Go ahead.
You sure? Mm-hmm. You sure about that? If we're good. Sure. So I think there's a different worldview that we have. And I think the worldview is how one actually makes contributions in a country. I do not believe that there's a separate category of just if you're serving the country and then if you're acting in self-interest, that's somehow sinful or wrong. I reject that vision. To the contrary, I think capitalism is the best system known to man to lift people up from poverty. I deeply respect, and I thank you for your service to this country. I'm grateful for it. I haven't served the country in the way that you have. But I think that the way you get ahead in capitalism, how did I develop a multi-billion-dollar biotech company? It was by developing medicines that save people's lives.
A lot of people say capitalism causes poverty.
Yeah, I disagree with that.
Okay.
I disagree with that. I think that capitalism demands that you provide something to someone that helps them more than you're actually charging them for it. That's the only way.
That's
the
a
tried
business
and true
model,
way
sir. That's
it
not
is a business
service.
model. It's not, I'm not
that's
saying
not
it's
service.
I'm saying it's having an impact on a society.
An elected official is service. That's the disconnect.
That's right. So
that you're missing, that they didn't teach
I'm moving on to. Now I'm moving on to. There are phases of our lives where we do different things.
Well, you're moving straight all the way up to President of the United States.
You know, I don't view it as a hierarchy.
Bro, he asked you if you were finished like 20 times. He asked in DJ Envy, are you finished? He asked in Charlamagne, you finished? And whenever you hear something you don't agree with, or you have something you want to chime in about, you interrupt him. I mean, he heard you out completely without interruption. You gotta be able to hear that man out completely without interruption, bro. Give him the same respect he gave you, bro. That's crazy. But listen, let's get back into it.
Where we do different things.
Well, you're moving straight all the way up to President of the United States.
You know, I don't view it as a hierarchy. I don't view it as a hierarchy. I don't believe in hierarchies. The hierarchy is the way the bureaucracy works. I don't believe in so we have a difference in opinion.
You also don't believe in service, and that's where we're having a disconnect.
Well, I disagree with you on that. I just disagree with you on that.
I do think it's whack that you're proposing to revoke voting rights for 18 to 24-year-olds unless they meet certain qualifications, but you never exercised your rights.
Well,
so long.
So most young people don't, is the whole point. Well, so, Charlamagne, let me ask you a question. Do you think the
largest voter turnouts have been over the last couple of elections, few elections?
They still voted at a very low rate. But let me ask you a question. What do you think about high school students being required to pass the civics test? What's your perspective on that?
The one that you proposed?
The one that every immigrant has to pass in order to enter the country. If every high school student has to pass that before they graduate, what's your take on that?
I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Okay, good. Now let me tell you something about the law as it exists today. Men in this country, not women, but men are required by law to register with the Selective Service, age 18 to 25. That's the draft. We don't have a draft, but men have to register. If you don't, they put you in prison. At least they can. It's a criminal offense if you don't. My view is I would decriminalize that. I don't like the government telling you what you can and cannot do. That's not the American way. But if you want to enjoy the civic privilege of voting, then I think it is perfectly legitimate to say you have to at least know something about the country or have served that country, one or the other. Absolutely. Now, I think that what do we actually care about, right? What do we? I mean, we can do the personal attack thing. We care about the country. We care about the country.
The cornerstone of democracy, though.
Voting is the cornerstone of democracy. I have not. Yeah, that's right. And you know, here's the thing. Here's the thing that's different
sir, excuse me, because this is important. We have to pause it. This is not a personal attack.
That's okay.
This is you, and I know that as a Republican, you are certainly not soft. So this is not a personal attack.
Yeah,
I'm okay with attacks too. This is about asking about your background and how it correlates, how it's relevant to saying you're going to serve this country, because president is actually
so I have been an open book in the last 3 years.
Yeah, I know.
Absolutely.
And I'm going page by page.
And I'm saying that I have not.
I'm going to let you finish, but I want to be clear. It's not an attack.
Okay.
Because you've been an open book, but that doesn't mean I have to like what's on the page.
That's fair
But
enough.
It's not an attack. I'm just reading the book.
Yep.
And so when I hear somebody say you need to get to either pass this test or do some type of service to the country, and I spend hours looking, you were in the Phi Beta Kappa. Did you have a leadership role in college, the honor roll? When somebody sets service as the standard and they've done no service except to themselves, that's a fair question. It's a question.
That's
and you just
so I've been on I mean, look, I was on high school student council. Yes, absolutely.
Were you a leader? Were you a leader?
I was a vice president of my high school student council. Absolutely. I was the president of the national.
Bro, we keep talking about, bro, how he said he going into his 40s. He's going into his 40s. He's experienced life. He's experienced high school. He's experienced college. He's experienced all these things. He sees the world from through his scope. He sees it for what it is. You can't keep saying, "Oh, well, in high school, did you do this?" Or in college, did you do this? Like, at some point, you know what I mean? I think she's trying to discredit him and say, "Well, why do you feel like you deserve to be a candidate for presidency, but you haven't shown leadership," which is valid, but at the same point, in his current age, at his current job, his previous job or his previous ownership, he has shown leadership. Just because you didn't volunteer in 4th grade, don't mean when you become a grown man, you learn from the world for what it is, and your IQ is at a point where you think you can make a difference. You know what I mean? Because I wasn't a leader in 5th grade, you gonna hold it against me? That don't make no sense. Come on.
Society. I can go down the list. It's just that
that's what I was asking you to do.
Absolutely.
Go down the list. But
so I was a president of the National Honor Society. I was the vice president of my student council. I was a lead amongst the volunteers at the hospital where I served growing up. I was actually a leader in volunteer research over the summers. from my senior year.
All of that, but you already admitted all of that was to get into college.
Not all of it, but I am admitting it. I think,
bro, that's what all high school students do. We all volunteer so we can put it on our resumes so we can get into college. That's what everybody does, dog. I don't understand why you take that and turn it into a negative. Like, does he have to serve in the military? Do you want him to serve in the military? Do you want him to join the Air Force? Do you want him to join the Army? Do you want him to be a Marine? Like, everybody's life is completely different, dog. And it's like, I don't understand why you're trying to, take away from the work that he's done. All right. I've learned so far in life, man, this is just me. You don't have to have, blossomed in high school. Sometimes it takes time. Sometimes you have to grow into who you are, grow into your character, grow into the man or woman you're going to grow into be. And you have to go through obstacles. You got to go through breakups. You got to go through failures. You have to go through things to build to be the person that you are meant to be. That doesn't happen rarely in middle school or high school. It happens in your adult life. So all these credential checks, it don't make any sense. If he's at a position right now where he can make a difference, and he believes in himself in such a way, he should. You know what I'm saying? And her question is valid, but at the same time, as a man, if you see something wrong and you want to make a difference, you should be able to. All right. You're always gonna have folks, on the opposition side questioning you at all times. That's just the part of the game. He knows how the game works. But let's just see how this plays out.
No, that's self-service, though. Do you understand the difference between self-service and service?
I think the reality is, and I think we just all have to be more honest. When many high school students are serving today, not all of them, but I think let's smoke it out. I don't like that structure where we actually mix service with self-interest.
And I don't like the structure of somebody saying somebody need to give service as a veteran. I don't like the structure of somebody going to the highest office of the land and have not served anybody at any time unless it was self-serving. So this is where we just have two different ideologies. And I know your goal was to come here and get into.
Here's my perspective.
That's why we got different perspectives.
Remember, two guys, he got to leave in 5 minutes. I know.
I'll let them wrap up.
Let me just say one thing: here's my vision of the run for presidency, and this is why I say I'm an open book. Is my job is to make sure people in this country know who I am and what I stand for. And I think that very few politicians on either party actually get that job done. So what I say is I'm an open book about who I am and what I stand for. Whether the people of this country want to vote for me, that's their question, not mine. That's their job to determine, not mine. And you're free not to vote for me. I expect you won't, and that's okay. But I'm doing my job in the 3 books I've written over the last year, in the conversation I'm having with you guys, being far more honest than any politician that I know in the last 10 years in this country. And I think when I say we want to fix corruption, you don't know what the first step is? The first step is actually people being honest. So you guys know me. You know what I stand for. I haven't hit back on that. Whether the people in this country want to vote for it, that's their choice.
Do you want to unite the country?
I do want to unite the country.
So why is one of your marquee campaign proposals making sure black people can no longer benefit from affirmative action?
See, here's the thing. It's actually been a disastrous experiment over the last 60 years. I've seen the impact that it's had. Unlike a lot of other executives, I've had senior executives in my company who happen to be black, senior executives in my campaign who happen to be black. I actually went to a majority or close to majority black school 1st through 8th grade. There isn't a single one of those black kids or black colleagues that could not have achieved everything I have in my life. I firmly believe that to be true. And I have seen the unfair discrimination behind closed doors, the things that people will say behind closed doors, about somebody who would have had that position anyway, but was unfairly tarred with the taint of saying they got it because of a race-based quota system. I think that's unjust to everyone across the board. And I think that the right way to do this is actually ensure equality of opportunity, educational access at an early age, which, by the way, we don't have in this country, starting at an actual young age. How about doing that in a way that's agnostic to race? That way we prevent seeing one another on the basis of a color of our skin, but we actually solve the real inequalities that we have when it starts with inequality of opportunity, starting with education. So my view is, I think my approach is actually going to be more successful in lifting up more black Americans than have been the Lyndon Johnson approach of actually using race-based quota systems.
So if the Supreme Court does rule on affirmative action and they do ban it, who do you feel it benefits versus who it hurts?
I think that it helps everyone if they end race-based affirmative action in college admissions. I think it will literally help everyone in different ways because it restores merit in the United States. Are we perfect in ensuring equality of opportunity? No, we're not. The fact that kids are trapped by the zip code in which they're born, determining where they go to school, is a problem, which is why I favor universal school choice in this country, which has actually done more to help black Americans than has any affirmative action program.
What's your thoughts on people saying that you got Don Lemon fired?
I think that the New York Times reported that. I had an open debate with Don Lemon. What CNN wanted to do with that is their choice. My view is, though, we need to start saying in public the things that people are otherwise saying in private. There's a gap right now in the country. Let's admit it. Democrat, Republican, it doesn't matter.
Be careful with that because a lot of people in your party are going to start saying nigga out loud.
I don't think so, actually. And I would certainly hope not. I would condemn it if they do. I would condemn it if anybody does. All right? But what I think is we need to close the gap between what people say in private and what they say in public. That allows us to air our differences, and then we actually find unity that way. That's actually what I think unites the country, not creating this culture of hush-hush, right? Say one thing in public and a different thing in private. And I do reject Don Lemon's premise. What did he tell me on set? He said, you can disagree with me when you have black skin and you've lived in this country, whatever ethnicity you are. Explain it to me. I just reject that. I think we should.
Sir, let's just use a real example of just what everybody said. You said, people can have difference of opinion. They can have, you want to unite people. I gave you a difference of opinion as a veteran, and you came back and said that I was personally attacking you, and that is a way of gaslighting and basically, trying to set the idea that I was against you when I just had. That's the statement you made, and what I'm saying is, instead of us just having the debate, because see, I didn't talk about colors, which you probably expected when you came in here.
I did not.
I didn't. Well, that's fine. I didn't talk about color. I didn't get all emotional about your vision because I really wanted to just talk about what you've done in service, because you yourself has raised service as the number one thing that what people need to do in order to participate in the country that my ancestors built. And you said that I personally attacked you. So just to give you some advice, if you're going to say, hey, let's have difference of opinion, let's be able to discuss.
I loved everything you did. I loved the whole thing.
That because I had a question that it was a personal attack, because
it was. I don't think a question. I think this is great, because you know what I said. What's the job?
Did you say personal attack?
What's the job? Is everybody needs to know
focus. Come on now.
Who a candidate is and what they stand for. That's the candidate's job. Whether you vote for them or not, that's your choice.
Did you say I personally attacked you, or did I hear it wrong?
Hold on. Envy, bro, where you at? I mean, what's going on? Even from like a listener's point of view, we ain't trying to hear all that back and forth. The interruption. Like, come on, man. Envy, man. You the host, dog. All right, step in and regulate it, dog. Come on.
I did not say you personally attacked me. No, I said we have actual good. I wanted to know whether or not we were actually able. You said sit around for 20 years. I said I didn't sit around for 20 years, but that's okay. I think that, you know what? If somebody's running for U.S. president, I want to say this.
Well, you
can't handle the heat. You stay out of the kitchen.
So
come in and we'll handle the
personal attacks. You did say personal attacks. So let's be honest. Remember, that's your number one thing, being honest.
And I agree with you. I know you have to go, but I do disagree on what you said about affirmative action, because I feel like without that legislation, I don't think black people stand a chance. We had to create the legislation to even have a chance. And I don't know why you have faith that without that legislation, things will be fair or on equal footing for black people.
I think that most people who benefit from affirmative action are the immigrants who came after Kennedy's immigration reform in the 60s. They are not descendants of slaves. They are people who came as immigrants like my parents did. And so I just think it is a broken system to say that you look like someone to whom a bad thing once happened and you're going to be favored over someone who looks like someone who once did a bad thing.
You think your parents would have gotten the same shot without that legislation?
I mean, so it turns out that Asian Americans, Indian Americans don't benefit
take away
from.
That benefited your parents, which directly benefited you.
See, here's what I'm saying is whether or not it's in our past, the question is, how do we actually move forward as one nation? And I do not believe it is with race-based quotas. I believe it is economically empowering all Americans.
I think that legislation was put here to protect people that look like me, people that look like you, and I think you're ridiculous to want to get rid of.
Here's what I would say is Lyndon Johnson's Great Society that this was part of, right? So affirmative action was part of it. There was a broader set of policies designed to help black Americans, I think have been disastrous for black Americans and all Americans.
Well, sir, it wasn't disastrous for you. And what Charlamagne is saying is your parents benefited from it.
They did not. I mean, as a point of fact, that's false. Indian Americans do not benefit from affirmative action.
No, that's not as a point of fact. No, that's not as a point of fact, because without the liberties that Black folks have fought for, which has basically immigrants have been able to prosper in this country because of that. But we're not going to go there. Let's just say they benefited from being able to have the freedoms that Black people fought for. That's the bottom line. And in turn, it benefited you. And then your answer a moment ago was, well, let's not talk about stuff in our past. See, once it benefited you, you were able, you moved on.
I want to be honest with you. You guys want to get real. Let's get real. My parents were.
That's why the heart of a service. No, sir. Because Black people hadn't fought.
Yeah, we got to get real. My grandparents lived in a colonial society. Britain colonized where my grandparents lived as well. But I think that I don't do well by seeing myself as a victim of the white man, because actually Great Britain happened to have colonized where my grandparents were actually colonized.
I think you were victorious.
That's moving the goalpost.
I think you were victorious.
What benefited your parents when they got here?
That's right.
What benefited all of us is the fact that we have a free country, where anybody is free to achieve what they want. I don't know they came to this country with not a lot of money. What benefited them was hard work and dedication. My dad faced layoffs when he was growing up at GE. Right. He went to law school at night to be able to keep his job. What did that teach me?
Affirmative action benefited him?
I don't think affirmative action benefited him. Absolutely not. I think hard work and dedication benefited him. And that's part of what I want to share with all Americans. I want to make this the country where no matter who you are and what your skin color is, you get ahead with your own hard work and commitment and dedication. That you get ahead not on the color of your skin, but the content of your character.
He has to go, guys.
And that's what I want for America.
One more thing. You told a voter that you were open to ending foreign aid to Israel. Then it was reported that it was a misunderstanding. What happened with that?
Yeah, it was. That was a false reporting, actually. So I think.
You never said that?
No, I did not. I said that I was open to actually a broad strategy of disengagement from the Middle East. Mm-hmm. My general view is we fought a lot of pointless wars for a very long time. Ukraine's the pointless war of the moment. And I think that the United States needs to disengage from parts of the world if it does not advance American interests. China's the top threat that we face, and we actually need to prioritize that in our foreign policy.
All right, you guys. So that was Vivek Ramaswamy, you guys. That was a pretty intense back and forth. I think Vivek held it down. He had his valid points here. He kind of went through his experiences, his leadership roles, and he openly admits, like, you know what? Yeah, when I was in high school, going into college, I did do these things to make me look better on my application, which is what a lot of students actually do. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. That's what a lot of colleges look for if you're planning on attending here. A side note, the young lady here, she's on point. Her question was valid. What have you done as far as a leadership role to make us give you our vote? What have you done? What can we see for ourselves that proves that you are a worthy candidate? In which he went down the line of his volunteer work. Whether she agrees with it or not is irrelevant. She has the right to express her opinion. She's going to vote for whoever she wants to vote for. But on a side note, never stray from conversations like this. These are important to have. Get them out the way early. These conversations, these tough questions, she was very direct, will make you a stronger person in any debate. I think he kept us cool here and held it down. Shout out to the young lady who had that was a great question. I'm not going to hold y'all. So comment down below what you guys think of this interview here. And as always, you guys click like, subscribe to this content. And until next time, y'all be safe out there. Peace.